familiar with Moses and his sister Miriam and his brother Aaron. So, like I said, we're going to dive right in. Numbers 12, verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman. So Miriam, which again is Moses' older sister, she's the first one to speak out against Moses' marriage to Sephora, which again is an Ethiopian woman. Of course, once she voices her opinion of this, the younger brother, Aaron, joins right in. Unfortunately, this time in his life, Aaron is a bit of a follower, so it doesn't take a lot to get him to jump on board. Remember, he is one of the very ones that helped build the golden calf for the people to worship. And so Moses' marriage to Sephora is after he has killed Pharaoh's guard. Remember, he has fled for his life. He has gone to the land of Cush, and he's actually there for 40 years. So he's there for 40 years. Of course, he's going to marry someone. He never expected to return to Egypt. He never expected to face Pharaoh, especially since Pharaoh had wanted him dead. And actually, Zipporah's father is a Midianite. He's a Midianite priest. So she is actually from the lineage of Abraham and Keturah, which is the wife that Abraham takes after Sarah's death. You guys following this? So she's labeled an Ethiopian because of the land that she lives in, and maybe she might even have darker skin. But again, she's labeled this. This is really not who she is. No different than a person that is, like Jimmy, born in Florida, but he lives in Tennessee. Everybody got that right? All right.
There's my question. Are you Tennessean or Florida?
He's a gypsy.
He's a Tenerife.
I'm not from anywhere.
He's a gypsy. I want to say that our flesh, our thoughts, we're so easy to judge and label people because of their appearance. Verse 2. And they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Morning, guys. We're in Numbers 12. Oh, y'all are in there.
They're in there. I want to hear from you. They're kind of in between.
I forget that. So Miriam and Aaron both knew that God had blessed them with gifts, but their pride was getting the best of them, especially Miriam. She was placing herself equal to Moses. Moses was a very humble man. He was appointed. He was called by God. And again, Miriam is basically placing herself above him. Matthew 23, Jesus states the same thing regarding the scribes and the Pharisees. Their outward appearance is righteous, but their insides, they're full of sin and hypocrisy. They bind people in judgment and traditions of men.
Amen.
The preachers and teachers of today are guilty of the same thing. Judging, criticizing, labeling, shaming, putting God's children in bondage. Remember, this was Satan's downfall, his pride. This is the tool that he will use to create conflict and division between these family members. Verse 3. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. Again, Moses was meek. He was patient. He was humble. He was willing to suffer Miriam's criticism. Moses didn't want God's calling as a leader because of his inability for public speaking. He didn't feel like he was worthy of it. But God took care of that by calling Aaron to speak for him. Moses gave God all the credit. Isn't it amazing how God called such a meek and humble man to do all that he did, all the miracles that he performed? I guess most times we expect it to come from people that are strong and, not necessarily ego-driven, but just very, very charismatic people.
Come on.
Not the meek and the humble. Verse 4. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam, Come out ye, you three, unto the tabernacle, which of the congregation. And they three came out. So God called them out immediately. He didn't wait a week or 2 weeks and then call on them. He called them out immediately. He told all three to go to the tabernacle. Moses was humble enough to let it go, but God wasn't having it. Verse 5. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. So God is speaking to Aaron and Miriam. He tells them that if they were prophets, he would speak to them in their visions and their dreams. But God personally appointed Moses. He speaks to him directly. He speaks to him face to face. Remember how he went on the mountain? Moses was handpicked by God, and he is super upset that they are challenging him. Verse 8. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches, and the similitude of the Lord shall be beheld. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Verse 9. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. So again, God is saying, he speaks to Moses face to face, very directly, and he is angry. Verse 10. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. 11. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. And behold, she was leprous. Miriam was covered with leprosy. Leprosy is a disease of bodily decay, and it's often referred to as walking death. Leper in the Hebrew means to strike. So a person with leprosy was often seen as someone who was struck by God. Notice Aaron was not stricken with leprosy. And he also notices that Miriam is. So I feel like Miriam didn't even realize what had happened to her. He saw it. And the reason maybe that he wasn't stricken is because he was following his controlling sister. Maybe he had actually already repented in his heart. We don't know. Only God knows. But pride and ego will make us think and act foolishly. And Satan loves to build us up and then attack us and tear us down. Verse 12. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. So Aaron is pleading with Moses to remove the affliction, and Moses now is pleading with God. This is the first word that Moses will have spoken this entire time. He pleads with God to restore Miriam. But notice, he didn't fight. He didn't say a word to them. He really let God avenge them attacking him. Verse 14. And the Lord said unto Moses, if her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. Of course, it's an insult to be spit in the face, and that's what he's pointing out, that basically that's what God feels, that Miriam has spit in Moses' face and in God's face, because he actually appointed Moses. So that's really that punishment. He's asking for maybe 7 days instead of this curse of leprosy. Verse 15. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not until Miriam was brought in again. And afterward the people removed from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. So Miriam is separated. She is put outside the camp for 7 days. She's put with the lepers and anybody else that's sick, because they all live apart in a separate camp. Apart from this study, that's how this was done. Lepers had their own colony. They stayed completely away from other people because of they were discriminated against, and also just because of how contagious it was. It's quite a fitting punishment for someone who was trying to exalt herself over God's chosen one. And after the 7 days, they will pack up and move to the outskirts of Canaan, bordering the promised land. Do you see how close they are to God's promise? They were 7 days from it, so close to that victory. And Satan created conflict and division in this family to keep them, or try to keep them, from their destiny. The real problem here wasn't Sephora. It wasn't her skin color. It wasn't Moses' choice. The problem was pride. Miriam wanted recognition. She wanted to be seen as Moses' equal, but it backfired, and God punished her. Verse 15 says, she was shut out of the camp for those 7 days, and the people journeyed not. Pride is one of Satan's most powerful tools. It may actually not only attack one or two of us, it affects everyone. Everyone suffers. But everyone suffered then because of what she did. When jealousy, anger, judgment, and criticism show up, the devil is the one who wins. He's the one who's happy. God gives us all talents and abilities and gifts that we need to succeed in life. He is the giver. We're just the recipients. When we excel, it's because God equipped us with the necessary abilities. If we think more highly of ourselves than we should, we tend to look down on others. This is pride, and nobody appreciates it. No one wants to be around people that elevate themselves, because it bleeds over and it creates negative feelings, and it becomes super offensive. Everything we are and everything we have is a gift from God.
Amen.
Amen.